The universe of the bold and the beautiful has always been built on a paradox. It is a world where beauty promises permanence, yet nothing is ever allowed to remain stable for long. Love is celebrated, but it is constantly tested. Creativity is praised, yet it becomes a battlefield for control. As the spoilers for the Monday, December 22nd episode unfold, the series once again leans into its greatest strength, its ability to turn memory into tension, ambition into conflict, and hope itself into something fragile, almost dangerous. This episode does not rely on explosive twists or sudden revelations. Instead, it draws its power from emotional undercurrents, from the quiet weight of history pressing down on characters who cannot escape who they once were, no matter how desperately they try to redefine themselves. At the center of this emotional storm stands Hope Logan, a woman who has spent much of her life attempting to reconcile her ideals with the realities imposed upon her by the Forrester dynasty. Hope's sense of identity has always been intertwined with her work, her name, and her belief that fashion can be more than profit. It can be principle. Yet on this particular Monday, that belief is shaken to its core as she faces the painful task of informing Deke Sharp that he has been fired from Forrester Creations. The act itself is devastating not because Hope made the decision, but because she had no power to stop it. Once again, she is forced into the role of messenger for choices made above her, choices dictated by authority rather than empathy. The moment Hope delivers this news to Deke is heavy with unspoken guilt. She understands what Forrester Creations meant to him, not merely as a job, but as validation. Deke's time at the fashion house represented possibility, a rare moment where talent and effort seemed capable of outweighing lineage. To see that opportunity stripped away so abruptly reopens Hope's own wounds, reminding her how often the Logan voice is sidelined when it matters most. Her sadness is layered: sorrow for Deke, frustration with the system, and a deeper, quieter grief for her own lack of agency within a company that bears her family's influence, yet refuses her family's authority. That frustration becomes even more pronounced as Hope reflects on her complicated past with Thomas Forrester. Thomas's presence in the episode is not merely physical, it is psychological. He arrives carrying memories as sharp as they are seductive, memories of a time when creativity flowed freely between them, when hope for the future felt like a shared dream rather than a contested territory. Thomas does not shy away from invoking those days. Instead, he leans into them, framing their past collaboration as proof of what they could achieve again if given the chance. His words are measured, his tone nostalgic, but beneath that surface lies an intensity that Hope cannot ignore. Thomas's recollections are not accidental. They are carefully chosen fragments of a shared history designed to remind Hope of success, unity, and mutual inspiration. He speaks of designs that mattered, of moments when they felt unstoppable together, when art seemed to transcend corporate politics. To Thomas, these memories represent unfinished business, a golden era cut short by misunderstandings and external interference. To Hope, they are far more complicated. Those same memories carry echoes of obsession, blurred boundaries, and emotional manipulation. What Thomas frames as creative partnership, Hope remembers as a period where professionalism and personal feelings became dangerously entangled. This tension defines their conversation. As Thomas expresses his desire to return to that era, to rebuild what they once had creatively, Hope listens with caution rather than enthusiasm. She recognizes the professional merit in his argument. She cannot deny that their collaboration yielded success. Yet she is acutely aware of the cost that success once demanded from her emotionally. The past, for Hope, is not a romanticized chapter. It is a warning. Her instinct now is not to relive it, but to contain it. Hope's response reflects a woman who has learned, often painfully, the importance of boundaries. She does not outright reject Thomas's proposal, but she reframes it, insisting on clarity and professionalism. In doing so, she asserts something she once struggled to claim: control over her own narrative. When the possibility arises that Thomas might once again blur the line between work and emotion, Hope shuts it down firmly. She reminds him, and perhaps herself, that she is happily remarried to Liam Spencer and that her personal life is no longer open for reinterpretation or intrusion. Thomas, for his part, attempts reassurance. He insists that he respects Hope's marriage, that his intentions are purely professional, that his focus lies solely in making Hope for the future the best it can be. His words are calm, even sincere, yet they carry an undercurrent of longing that complicates their credibility. Thomas has always struggled with the distinction between love and ambition, between admiration and possession. Whether he truly believes he has moved beyond that struggle remains an open question, one the episode deliberately leaves unanswered. While this emotionally charged exchange unfolds, Hope's heartbreak over Deke's dismissal continues to color every interaction. The loss feels symbolic, reinforcing her growing sense that no matter how invested she is in her work, ultimate decisions will always rest with Steffy Forrester and Ridge Forrester. This realization stings deeply. Hope has poured her creativity, her values, and her identity into Forrester Creations, yet she remains excluded from its highest levels of power. The imbalance becomes impossible to ignore, feeding a quiet resentment that threatens to harden into disillusionment. For Deke, the aftermath of his firing is a moment of profound reckoning. Though he tries to reassure Hope that he will not abandon his dreams, the shock is undeniable. Losing his position at Forrester Creations feels like being pushed out of a future he had only just begun to imagine. Still, Deke's resilience surfaces in the face of disappointment. He refuses to let this setback define him, even as he grapples with the emotional weight of rejection. His journey now shifts away from the glossy halls of the fashion house toward a more grounded, uncertain path. That path leads him to Il Giardino, where he seeks comfort from Deacon Sharp. Deacon's reaction to the news is predictably fiery at first, fueled by his long-standing resentment toward the Forrester family and their pattern of discarding people once they no longer serve a purpose. Yet beneath that anger lies a father's instinct to protect and support. Deacon ultimately becomes what Deke needs most in that moment, a steady presence, a reminder that worth is not bestowed by elite institutions, but earned through perseverance and self-belief. It is within this emotionally charged environment that Remy Price enters the scene. Remy's arrival is marked by nervous energy, an unease that immediately sets him apart. Overhearing Deke's dismissal, Remy is confronted with the vulnerability of someone he still cares deeply about. His desire to comfort Deke is genuine, rooted in shared history and unfulfilled hopes of reconciliation. Remy understands, perhaps more than anyone else present, how much fashion means to Deke, not just as a career, but as a calling. The interaction between Deke and Remy is charged with uncertainty. On one hand, Deke is emotionally raw, grappling with rejection and loss. On the other, Remy represents both comfort and complication. Accepting Remy's support would mean reopening a relationship that carries its own emotional risks. Rejecting it, however, would deepen Deke's isolation at a time when he desperately needs connection. The question of whether Deke will allow Remy back into his life hangs heavy in the air, underscoring the episode's broader theme. Vulnerability can be both healing and terrifying. Amid this turmoil, a glimmer of hope quietly emerges. Spoilers hint that Deke's future may soon brighten thanks to an unexpected opportunity from Katie Logan. This potential job offer represents more than professional redemption. It symbolizes a shift in power dynamics. Katie's willingness to recognize Deke's talent suggests an alternative vision of the fashion world, one less governed by legacy and more open to possibility. For Deke, this opportunity could mark the beginning of a new chapter, one defined not by rejection, but by renewal. As the December 22nd episode unfolds, these interconnected storylines weave together into a narrative rich with emotional complexity. Thomas's memories blur the line between past and present, testing Hope's resolve. Hope's grief over Deke's dismissal exposes the limitations of her influence. Deke's heartbreak reveals both his vulnerability and his strength, while Remy's longing underscores the human need for connection amid failure. Each character stands at a crossroads, forced to confront what they are willing to let go of and what they are still fighting to reclaim. In The Bold and the Beautiful, the past is never simply remembered. It is relived, reinterpreted, and renegotiated. Monday's episode captures this truth with haunting precision. Memories become bargaining chips, dreams are threatened but not destroyed, and hope itself, true to its name, remains contested terrain. As the characters move forward, one truth becomes increasingly clear. The future of Hope for the Future, of Deke's career, and of Thomas's intentions will not be decided by nostalgia alone, but by the courage to change patterns that have long defined them. And in this world, that courage is often the rarest commodity of all. The world of The Bold and the Beautiful has always understood that glamour is never merely decoration. It is camouflage. Beneath the polished surfaces, sculpted bodies, and couture silhouettes lies a volatile emotional ecosystem where desire, power, insecurity, and unresolved trauma continuously collide. The promotional video for the week of December 22nd to 26th does more than tease upcoming plot points. It quietly reveals how every character is standing on unstable ground, convinced they are moving forward while unknowingly circling the same emotional fault lines that have fractured generations before them. This week is not about isolated events, but about convergence, of ambition and resentment, nostalgia and denial, healing and obsession, and the consequences of inviting the wrong people into spaces that feel safe only because their dangers have not yet fully revealed themselves. The promo opens with a visual that has become something of a signature for the series. John Finnegan soaked, exposed, and framed in a way that turns vulnerability into spectacle. On the surface, it is a moment of fan service, a reminder that the show still understands the currency of desire. Yet within the language of The Bold and the Beautiful, such imagery is rarely meaningless. Finn's drenched appearance subtly mirrors the emotional state of many characters this week, overexposed, stripped of protection, standing in environments they believe they can control while forces beneath the surface threaten to pull them under. Beauty, once again, masks danger. As the focus shifts from spectacle to substance, the narrative turns toward Will Spencer and Electra Forrester, a couple cautiously embracing happiness after surviving profound loss. Their beach house has become a symbol of refuge, a space where grief has slowly given way to hope, and where creative partnership has reinforced emotional intimacy. Together, they've built something that feels real, love shaped by shared pain, and a future imagined not through legacy, but through choice. It is precisely this fragile piece that makes their decision to invite Dylan into their home so narratively unsettling. The invitation extended to Dylan initially reads as generosity, even compassion. Will's suggestion that Dylan stay overnight is rooted in empathy rather than suspicion, an instinctive response from someone who believes that kindness is a form of healing. Electra's support of this invitation speaks volumes about her character growth. She does not resist out of jealousy or fear. Instead, she leans into trust, believing that connection, not distance, is the antidote to trauma. In another context, this would be a beautiful affirmation of emotional maturity. In the heightened reality of The Bold and the Beautiful, however, such openness often becomes the doorway through which chaos enters. Dylan's reaction, surprise mixed with curiosity, immediately raises questions. She does not respond with simple gratitude. Instead, her intrigue suggests that the invitation satisfies something deeper than the need for shelter or companionship. Dylan's history is steeped in psychological scars left by Luna Nozawa, whose manipulation and cruelty pushed Dylan beyond the limits of emotional endurance. Trauma, especially unresolved trauma, rarely fades quietly. It reshapes perception, distorts attachment, and can transform longing into fixation. The promo's most chilling question, whether Dylan is obsessed with Will, Electra, or both, hangs in the air without resolution, inviting viewers to reconsider every seemingly innocent interaction through a darker lens. Electra, having survived Luna's reign of terror, may believe she understands the nature of psychological danger. Yet survival does not always grant immunity. Sometimes it breeds overconfidence. Elektra's willingness to bring Dylan into her home may stem from a desire to prove that she is no longer ruled by fear, that she can face the past without flinching. Will, meanwhile, embodies a different vulnerability. His compassion, one of his most admirable traits, leaves him exposed to emotional manipulation. In extending hospitality, he unknowingly relinquishes control over the emotional boundaries of his home, allowing Dylan proximity not only to their space, but to their routines, their intimacy, and their unguarded moments. As this unsettling domestic storyline unfolds, a parallel drama of ambition and identity takes shape within the world of fashion. Katie Logan stands on the brink of a defining moment as she prepares to reveal the name of her new fashion brand. Names in the bold and the beautiful are never neutral. They are declarations of allegiance, symbols of power, and provocations disguised as branding. Katie's decision to step forward with her own label represents a radical act of self-definition in a family ecosystem that has long prioritized collective legacy over individual voice. Standing beside Bill Spencer, Katie embodies a quiet defiance. Bill's support is not merely financial, it is ideological. Together, they challenge the unspoken rule that innovation must be sanctioned by the Forrester hierarchy to be legitimate. When Brooke Logan speculates about names like Spencer Fashions or Spencer Style, the moment carries playful curiosity on the surface, but beneath it lies anxiety. A Spencer-branded fashion house is not just competition, it is a threat to the cultural dominance of Forrester creations. The reveal of Katie's brand name becomes a crucible for unspoken tensions. Ridge Forrester's reaction is particularly telling. Ridge has always struggled with challenges to his authority, especially when they originate outside his control. His potential to mock Bill or question Katie's competence is not rooted in objective assessment, but in insecurity. Ridge equates power with legitimacy, and Katie's independence destabilizes that equation. If she succeeds without his endorsement, it undermines the mythology of Forrester's supremacy. Brooke, caught once again between loyalty and love, watches this interaction with growing unease. She understands Katie's need to claim her own identity, even as she fears the fallout such independence will trigger. Brooke's internal conflict mirrors the show's central tension, the desire to maintain harmony within systems that are inherently exclusionary. Her silence, her measured reactions, reveal a woman torn between protecting family bonds and acknowledging truths she has long avoided. Meanwhile, Thomas Forrester continues his quiet campaign to reclaim both creative relevance and emotional proximity to Hope Logan. Thomas's approach is careful, almost restrained, as he frames his return to Hope's fashion line as a restoration of something beautiful they once shared. His nostalgia is not overtly romantic, yet it is emotionally loaded. By invoking their past creative synergy, Thomas positions himself as indispensable, not just to the brand, but to Hope's sense of purpose. Hope listens, but her response is tempered by hard-earned wisdom. She acknowledges the success they once achieved together, but she refuses to romanticize it. For Hope, the past is not a blueprint for the future, it is a lesson in boundaries. Her insistence that their personal relationship remain firmly in the past is not an act of cruelty, but of self-preservation. She has rebuilt her life, reaffirmed her marriage, and reclaimed control over her emotional narrative. Thomas's assurances that he respects her union with Liam Spencer may be sincere, but sincerity does not erase history. Complicating Hope's emotional landscape is her ongoing concern for Deke Sharp, whose firing from Forrester Creations continues to weigh heavily on her conscience. Deke's dismissal represents everything Hope fears about her place within the company, that talent and dedication are ultimately subordinate to bloodlines and power plays. Her worry for Deke's future amplifies her frustration with Ridge and Steffi's authority, reinforcing her sense of powerlessness within an institution she helped build. The week's promo suggests that these tensions will not explode immediately, but rather simmer, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. The danger lies not in confrontation, but in proximity. Dylan's increasing presence in Will and Elektra's home blurs emotional boundaries. Katie's brand launch quietly redraws the map of power within the fashion world. Thomas's nostalgic overtures test Hope's resolve. Ridge's skepticism sharpens old rivalries. Brooke's silence grows heavier with each passing moment. What makes the week of December 22nd to 26th particularly compelling is its emphasis on psychological stakes rather than spectacle. Dylan does not arrive as a villain, she arrives as a wounded survivor. Thomas does not declare his desires, he frames them as creative necessity. Ridge does not openly sabotage Katie, he questions her readiness. Each thread is subtle, cloaked in reason, empathy, or tradition. And yet, within these subtleties, the seeds of chaos are unmistakably planted. Trauma, ambition, and nostalgia intersect in ways that feel dangerously familiar. Dylan's unresolved pain risks transforming gratitude into obsession. Katie's assertion of independence challenges a hierarchy that does not tolerate defiance. Thomas's longing threatens to reawaken patterns he claims to have outgrown. Hope's compassion battles her instinct for self-protection. Will and Electra's trust is tested not by betrayal, but by the presence of someone who does not yet know how to exist without control. In The Bold and the Beautiful, the greatest tragedies rarely begin with malice. They begin with invitations, with opportunities, with second chances offered too freely and boundaries enforced too late. As this week unfolds, viewers are left with unsettling questions rather than comforting answers. Is Dylan seeking healing or replacement? Can Katie redefine success without becoming collateral damage in a larger war? Has Thomas truly learned to separate creation from possession? And how long can Brooke continue to stand in the middle before the ground gives way beneath her? The promo promises shock, but its true power lies in inevitability. Every smile feels provisional, every gesture layered with subtext. The calm moments are not reprieves, but preludes. As always, The Bold and the Beautiful reminds us that in a world built on beauty, the most dangerous thing of all is the belief that the worst is already behind you.